What's up, you guys? I'm here with Philip Kampa. You may recognize him from his YouTube channel, HolyCheetoz or HolyCheetoz.
Yeah.
Anyways, there'll be links to those. So we're at the Shreveport Regional, and who would have thought we'd get one? This is a deck profile. What deck is it?
It's Chainburn. I know it sounds degenerate, but yeah, a lot of people are like, "Oh, I hate to play against Chainburn because it's so sacky." But if you do like one wrong calculation, you can lose the whole game. If you flip like one of your burn cards at the wrong time, one of your burn spells, they're all traps, I call them burn spells. One of your burn cards at the wrong time, then you can lose the game, and that's happened to me in the past, but that's what made me like to not do it in the future. So
let's hop into the deck.
3 card D. Having 3 is just too good because most of the times I would open with either this or Duality, because if you play 3 of a card, it's the same as playing 3 Rabbit and 3 Tour Guide, like which I did at Nationals last year. If you play 3 of a card, you have a 39% chance of opening with it in your opening hand if you play a 40 card deck. So I have a 40% chance of opening up with Pot of Greed. Why wouldn't I play 3? And most of the time, that plus whatever other draw cards I have would net me another one, and then I would just dig through my deck. Card just too fast. It may seem like it's slow having to summon and skip a battle phase, but it gives up tempo for advantage. But if it's early game, you're not giving up tempo. 3 Scarecrow, just to stop attacks. It doesn't really do much more than that. You have to know when to play it too, because if you burn them early, like you eat a lot of damage with this deck. I can't tell you how many games I've won below like the 2,000, 1,500, even 1,000 mark, and just because I held my Scarecrows, they didn't like expect them to be there, so that way they'd be poking for game, and I would just be like Scarecrow, top of burn spell, Scarecrow. So those Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and then this is the weirdest thing about the deck, because people thought it was weird. 2 Wind-Up Rabbits. You're going to get to the last card in the main deck is going to be the main reason why I played the Wind-Up Rabbits, so I'm just going to put those over here until we get to that card. And then the last monster is 1 Gores, because Gores is Gores, and I have an Italian secret. Why wouldn't I play it? And that's 9 monsters. There's only 5 spells, 2 Chain Strikes. This is possibly the best burn spell in the deck. There's only 8 of them, really, that I do massive burn damage off of. If I play it right, this one should get up to 2,000. I've gotten it as high as 3,200 on a chain link. So that is, I can't even do math. That's chain link 8. Yeah, chain link 8 chain strike. So like I said, you have to know when to play them, how to form the chains, and I believe I have some of those videos on how to form the chains and everything on my old channel. I have to redo them probably. 2 Pot of Dualities. Once again, if I can look at the next top 3 of my deck, it's essentially the same as card car. If I can dig through my deck for the cards that I want the most, then why wouldn't I have to play 2? That, and most of the time, if I Duality into a card car, I default take the card car, unless it would be game if I took another card. And the saddest part, 1 day apiece. I wish I could still be playing 3, but his brothers aren't there anymore, so the one has to do. When you don't have the Scarecrow or the Gores to stop them from killing you, it's good. Plus, it's a Pot of Greed-ish effect, because if you play it, you neutral, and then you can't die for a turn, and you still get your next draw phase. So you essentially get 2 cards and you can't die, which makes it a pseudo Pot of Greed in essence. I have 12 draw traps. There's 3 accumulated fortunes. It can only be activated as chain link 4 or higher, and it lets me draw 2 cards. And the same as Chain Strike, it can't be activated if there are multiples of a card, multiples of the same name of a card in a chain. 3 Jar of Greed and 3 secret rare Jar of Greed with the bird on it. It's just they all draw 1 card. I still have not had the day where somebody had a Tsukiyumi or a Zora Priest or any kind of spirit on the field to where I could draw 2, but it'll happen one day. 3 Reckless Greed, just because, well, it's awesome because if you have, I can't tell you how many times I've opened up, because remember the 40% chance of opening up with a card you play 3 of in a 40 card deck. So by the math of it, I've opened up with these probably more times than I can remember. So if this is my chain link, I'm setting 4 out of my hand, so I open with 2. Plus if one of them's a card car, I'm going to card into 3 cards, draw for my turn, and then chain off these 4. So I have 4 cards in my hand, and then I draw 6, so I have 10 cards in my hand. If I set 5, I still have 5, possibly, hopefully one of them's another card car, or a Duality into a card car, or something of the sort. You also have to watch how you play your Reckless Greeds, because if you lock yourself out of draw phases without ways to get your answers, or not your answers, but the things to hold off for long enough, then you can die really easily. The 6 burn trap, I gotta stop saying spells. 6 burn traps, 3 Just Desserts, and 3 Secret Barrels. Just Desserts deals 500 for every monster your opponent controls, and it counts the Ojama tokens from these. Secret Barrel deals their opponent 200 damage for every card on their field and in their hand. A lot of people think that when I Secret Barrel, they can chain things and they'll go to the grave as they resolve. That's not true at all, and it's funny when I see them do it. And the next card's actually another funny one, but just the way you beat this deck is not give me more than, because I'm going to put in a geometry on the board, so this is going to do a minimum 2,000. There's nearly nothing you can do about that, but that's only 6,000, so you can prevent the rest of it. But if you just burn your cards off, like, people will be smart and they'll just like waste a lance on a monster just to get 200 damage off of the Secret Barrel, and it ends up saving them sometimes. But I've learned to play around it. The other funny part is I play 2 Dimension Wall. I opted not to play not Forbidden Lance. I opted not to play Magic Cylinder just because of the fact that it targets the monster, and Forbidden Lance is a card. So if they go Summon Bear and attack me and I Dimension Wall, they take the 1600, Bear doesn't get his effect. But let's say that I Magic Cylinder and they Lance, I still take the 800, plus they get a Tinky or Tensu, and they can still continue on with their plays. I had 3 people today attempt to Forbidden Lance my Dimensional Wall, and I was just like, okay, you take damage, and they had to call a judge on it every time. It's funny sitting there knowing you're right. That sounds messed up, but 2 Geometrio, it locks the field. If you see them with like 2 monsters that neither one is with tuner and they're different levels, like I played against Madolches in the Astral Pack side event we had, and which I got packs from both of them. Like I got payout from both of them, so thank you, deck. But he has a 3 and a 4-star, and neither one were any that could like move off the field or anything. So I locked his field, and then it just sat there like waiting it out to draw into my burn spells. 2 Threatening Roars. With the loss of 1 day apiece, I really like Threatening Roar because it's the extra chain link. And although it doesn't have the neutralizing effect that 1 day apiece did, it's chainable, so they can't know they're not going to kill you. And it's also really, really, really good against Mermails because like they'll waste a marksman target on it when they could have hit like a D-wall or something. So if they target this instead of just chain it, and it stops their turn somewhat. And the last card, 2 Torrential Tributes, and that's what I was saving the Wind-Up Rabbits for. Nobody sees this card coming, and most of the time if they see it in game 1, I'll side out both or maybe just one in game 2. I can go first. Like, I'll give you an example of one of the openings I actually did have. I had this as my opening. I went Summon Wind Up Rabbit and set 3. That's probably all bass backwards, but yeah, there we go. Summon Wind Up Rabbit, set 3. They summoned Rescue Rabbit. And they were like, nothing to the summon. Yeah, it's fine. So they do their effect. They bring out 2 Kabazuls. I went, not that one, not that one. Torrential. And they didn't have a response. I chained Wind Up Rabbit. They opted not to respond. I chained Legacy of Yatagarasu, and then I chained Accumulated Fortune. So I draw 3 cards. So I replaced the 3 cards that I used. And then Wind Up Rabbit runs. So next turn he's going to come back on my standby phase, and he's going to be able to swing in for 1,400. And if they waste a trap on him, he'll just run away, come back, and do it next turn if they don't put a monster on board. And I already plussed off of Torrentialing their Kabazuls, which so Torrential's a 1-for-1 with the Rabbit. And then you plus off of these. The whole thing with Chainburn is you have to neg yourself to plus. It's a weird concept, but it's probably one of the best in the game. I think that Chainburn's the best deck ever. I don't know why. But yeah, nobody ever sees the Torrentials coming. And it's really good against Mermails because if they think all your back rows are chainable, they might not try to shoot them with Marksman. So yeah. Side deck was actually the hardest part. The main deck was the easiest thing. But side deck was the hardest. I only sided 1 Lava Golem. I didn't think that Dino Rabbit or Samurais would be a problem, mainly because of like the Torrentials and the rest of the trap lineup, like the oddity of it. That and a lot of people genuinely do not know how to play against this deck. I was playing Lava Golem, Meteon, and Volcanic Queen. I decided to take out the Meteon and the Volcanic Queen just because Fiendish Chain are cards, and well, Fiendish Chain's a card for Meteon, and Volcanic Queen can end up killing me, like, because it has an effect. They can destroy another card on their field and burn me for 1,000. I sided 2 effect failures, which might be kind of odd in Chainburn, but it was with 3 Maxis. This was mainly for Heretics and for Electromo TK, because if you Maxi and Electromo TK, by the time that they would drop the last Gustav Max, you've drawn, I want to say it was 19 or 20 cards, if they did it without like skipping any steps or doing any loopholes or anything. So you draw 20 cards. Within those 20 cards, one of those should be a Veiler to stop you from dying, at least once. So, like, when they do the trick is to that is when they drop the 3rd Electrum, and they have the 2 banished and everything, and it activates to put everything back, you Veiler. So you lock them out of majority of their fusions for the rest of the game, and their Electrums are gone. So it has to play as a normal hero deck, which this deck can deal with perfectly. Dark Hole, get rid of threats like Thunder King, forces Lagias, gets rid of Dolkas if they don't have Lance. 3 Messenger apiece. I love, like, whenever this card comes in, whenever these come in, this comes in, because I love being able to just watch them sit and squirm under a Messenger and a Lava Golem when they've already locked their back row with other stuff trying to get it out of their hand, and their monster zones are locked because of Ojama Trio. Like, I did that to one guy. He had 3 monsters. I sacked 2 of them off for Lava Golem, set 3 and passed, and in his draw phase, I just deserted Secret Barreled Ojama Trio'd, and I burned him for Booty Load. And Messenger's good against Fire Fists. It's somewhat good against Mermails. Depends on the player more than the deck itself. And Dino Rabbit. It holds them at bay all the time. 3 MSTs because, well, screw Royal Decree. and Water too. Water against Mermails for Abyss Sphere. And 2 Macrocosmos. I actually sided these in against Madolches. It was pretty funny because they always have to go to the graveyard before they can go back to the deck without Chateau on the field. I don't know. But it ended up winning me the game against Madolches and, you know, Water. The extra deck is slightly irrelevant, but during certain times I can make everything in it. I just wanted to have every option available because the way I play is different from other people. So I might put myself in a stupid situation where I sided in the Maxis and Veilers and I kept in the Gores, and I dropped the Gores to stay alive, but I want to summon the Veiler and make like one of the level 8 synchros. So I played Chimera Tech, Fortress Dragon, in case somebody's stupid enough to leave a Cyber Dragon on the field thinking I don't play it. Stardust, first deck Ghost Rare signed by Rachel Ray, the cook. Yes, that happened. Thought Ruler, Scrap Dragon, Crimson Bladed. This card demolishes Water and Heretics all day, and vendors are buying them for $1. So that's awesome. And 1 Red Dragon Archfiend, just so I can... it almost happened because if he didn't have the bottomless for it, I would have summoned the Veil dealt game killing my own Ojama tokens on his field. It was pretty funny. Gachi and Augusto Phoenix for the times if I have a card that gets Veilered and I summon another card and it gets Veilered, or if I have a Maxi in my hand and I figure that going one of these would be the best route. Like I said, it's just all situational. Zen Mains, Tempo, Leviar, Soul of Silver Mountain, because of the wind-up rabbits, I can sit there and lock their back rows and swing in for 18. People should be playing this card. I played against a wind-up player, and it was a good friend of mine. His name is Jason Hutchinson, and he didn't play this card, and he lost one of the games because of it, but he still got me in the match. Leviathan, couldn't segue into that. Grinosaurus, because, well, he does burn. He's a Velociraptor Rex. And Acid Golem. I didn't really want to put him in there because every time I play on this mat, I burn out to Acid Golem. So I didn't play on this mat today. But like Nationals and Top 64, I burned out to Acid Golem. I burned down from 11,000 because he upstarted me 3 times before he wind-up looped me. And I came back with a tour guide play, and it burned out. And then in a team war, it burned out. So...
Alright, so thanks for the deck profile. How were some of your rounds there? Like, what were some of the harder things?
There wasn't really anything too hard. It was just waiting on the cards to come to just draw, because sometimes people put me in situations where I have to like sit and wait about 4 or 5 turns, and that's not a problem with this deck if you know how to play around everything they have. Like you can tell if a player knows how to play against this deck or not, usually within the first 2 or 3 minutes of playing against them, because you can tell as soon as their mannerisms change and how they play from the point of where they don't know what you're playing to where they find out that you're playing Chainburn. If they just like start setting cards and they're not actually doing anything to get the cards out of their hand and into the grave so they don't count for anything, you can assume that they're inexperienced with the matchup. But that doesn't mean to rule anything out, because it's good to assess the other player's skill level, but at the same time, you can you can make the wrong guess. But I would have to say that my hardest matchup actually was my friend Jason with windups. That was we had a really good match. It's the only game that it was the only match that I went to game 3 with, and we almost went into time. We finished with like 2.5 minutes left on the clock.
Who ended up winning?
He ended up winning. I was only here. I came to top. Yeah, I came to play, but I was mainly here for scoop duty. So about 10 or 15 people from my area didn't have invites to nationals. I got mine the week after the ban list with windups. I know, derp. But so I was just like, oh, okay, I'll play something I've been wanting to play for a while and have some fun. And he was one of the people who I was on scoop duty for, and we had to play. So I was about to give him the win. I was just like, do you have your invite? He's like, no. So I'm like, I'll put my stuff back in my bag. He's like, no, I want to play. And I'm like, okay, well, even if I win, you get the win. He's like, all right, cool. And then he ended up actually earning the win. So that was pretty cool. And then I scooped to another friend 2 rounds after him that didn't have his invite, and I ended up dropping out, I want to say round 6.
Alright.
So.
Well, thanks for the deck profile. Remember, guys, check out his channel, HolyCheetoz or HolyCheetoz. So links will be there. Thanks again for the deck profile. Subscribe. Thumbs up. Bye, guys.